So, who's going to ask the first question? First question is from Justin Dunk. Please go ahead, Justin.
Coach, thanks for doing this. Just curious how the Cody Fajardo trade and signing came about, literally like from start to end, him coming from Montreal.
Uh, Probably a good question to ask Ed as well. I mean, everybody knows you need two quarterbacks to win in the CFL. We had a plan to get behind Trey and build an offense around Trey. I have a ton of respect for McLeod, but just dynamic wise, it's difficult. We didn't want to have the status quo from a year before, so we decided we're building it around Trey. Then we start looking at options. What are the veteran options in the league right now? And really couldn't be more excited to add a guy like Cody Fajardo, who extremely high character, man of high character. The guy is a really high rate competitor. He's been successful, MOP of the Grey Cup 2 years prior, played in a similar offense that Jordan's going to run, and just has that veteran experience that is going to help push Trey, is going to support Trey, but also is a very good football player. So couldn't be more happy to add a man like Cody to our group, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Did you have conversations with Trey after he was signed just to keep him in the loop that you were going to try to go out to get a veteran backup so that it wasn't a surprise to him?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm an honest guy, so my players, I'm going to communicate with them at all times, and that was definitely a conversation that was had immediately before it came out. He knew where we were going. He knew what the purpose was, and it was all above board, if you want to refer to it like that.
Right on. Do you expect Gino Lewis to be his top target, currently a pending free agent and back with the Elks?
Those talks are ongoing right now. Ed and I met last night in depth, just really, really getting into the roster a little bit. And Gino, he's a special player. He also has a super high price tag. I mean, that's common knowledge. So I mean, we're gonna have to figure all the details of that out. He did have success with Trey last year. His that touchdown streak, all those things. So we're just gonna have to see how that plays out.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. The next question is from Frank Stanici. Please go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Coach. Well, had a chance to see at the Grey Cup with Calgary. There's been a lot that's happened. You've been up for other jobs. What made this one really important to be a part of?
Well, I didn't have a job, so that made it important. But I'd interviewed in Edmonton before. I have connections to that city. My wife has connections to that city. Just looking at the outside in, I said it in another interview at one time. I really felt like the universe did align with this job. When you've got new ownership, a new president in Chris Morris, a new general manager in Ed Hervey, and then myself, and we are all vertically aligned on what we feel like winning football should be, and what a winning program should look and act like on a day-to-day basis. And that's a really special thing, and it doesn't happen all that often. So I felt like the pieces really did come together. When I was going through the interview process, it was very apparent really early in that process that it could be a tremendous fit. And it's just really it's an exciting opportunity. I mean, if you look at the roster that Edmonton had, there's some really good players that are in that building. And that was another part of it that was super exciting. We're not starting from scratch. I just can't wait to get after it.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Next question is from Dan Ralph. Please go ahead, Dan.
Yep. Good morning, Mark. How odd or how different is it for you to be wearing that jacket, given where you were 20 years prior?
Well, look at it. It's a sweet fit. I can tell you that right now. I was my first football team I ever played on was green and gold. I played it for LCI in Lethbridge. We were green and gold. I played for the Bears. We were green and gold. So really, it didn't. It did it. I remember it felt strange when I first put on red and white. So I mean, getting back into this, it felt natural for me. It wasn't like I was in a foreign place. Like I just mentioned, it's just such an exciting opportunity. The things that we feel like we can build there, and being aligned as an organization is critical. And it's an exciting opportunity. And I'm going to rep. I get on Dan, our equipment guy, every time I see someone wearing some nice swag. I'm like, Dan, we need that. We need that. So I'm going to keep repping it, and I think it looks pretty good.
And if I may follow, how different is it being the administrator as opposed to being a position coach?
Well, I was a special teams coordinator and an assistant head coach, so I was doing I was in front of the team. You know what I mean? So I'm speaking to every position group. The only two guys that speak to the whole team are the head coach and the special teams guy. So I was comfortable in that role. As far as messaging and stuff, that's what I had been doing. I feel like one of my best friends asked me, it's like, what's the first month been like on the job? And I'm like, I said, I feel like I'm the same guy. I'm just, people are coming to me as the final, is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, it is. But, I'm doing the same things that I normally would do. I'm being the same person in the building. I'm bringing energy into that building. And it just, now I'm calling shots. I guess that's the difference with it. But, it's an exciting thing. And, you can really feel the energy in Commonwealth Stadium, and you could feel it in Edmonton as well. I think the community feels that we are changing what the culture was, and we are changing what the vibe was around that football team. And that's an exciting thing to be a part of and to get behind.
And last question, if I may. This was a long time coming. Did you ever think it might not come?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about that. Like, I mean, in coaching, you're really year to year anyways. You're judged on performance. Hopefully you can bring more value to that, and your reputation, and you're doing more than just being judged on wins and losses. That's what you're trying to bring every day. Going through that process 6 times. Sometimes I felt like I was a fit somewhere else, but the jobs are so hard to get, the top jobs. You have to be literally exactly what that general manager or that owner or whatever is looking for. And just sometimes it's not going to be the fit. Even if doesn't mean you're a bad coach. It means that every time I went through that process and didn't get it, I went through a period of self-reflection where it's like, what can I do better? How can I evolve this? How can I change my approach the next time if I were to get another interview opportunity? So a forced a self-reflection where you're trying to evolve your stuff, and that's how you stay successful anyways. You got to continue to evolve. I always say longevity. If you want longevity, you have to evolve. It's evolution, not revolution. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. And if I look back at my career, it's something that I'm proud of is that I did evolve year to year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Next question is from Jeff Hamilton. Please go ahead, Jeff.
It's a good question to put into this one to you, Mark. Thanks for doing this, by the way. This business is a weird one and can be unpredictable at times. I'm wondering what makes you the right guy to lead the Elks into a new era and not the right guy to fix what was going on in Calgary?
Well, you have to ask the people that made the decision in Calgary. I mean, that's out of my control, but I can tell you that I'm going to fucking bring it in Edmonton. I can tell you that right now. So you can print that as well. I mean, the thing that I'm most proud of, and I did get emotional in my presentation about, is the wave of support that I received from players past and present. And, that was like an organic thing that happened. And it just really reinforced to me that, I did things the right way. The connections that I made over those years were real. And, it reinforces to yourself. I always said if I ever could get this opportunity, I was never going to look back. And that's how I feel about it.
Not to stoke the flames, but did you feel like a fall guy in Calgary then, just based on that reaction?
I mean, I don't know. You feel a lot of things after 20 years is 20 years. You got roots in the city, and you understand it's professional sport. And I understood I was not the norm. I was not the norm being in one place for 20 years. But you feel a lot of things. But I also felt that I'm an optimist, and I felt that you know one door closes, another window opens. I felt like there was good things that were going to come from that change, and I just had to find them, and I think I have.
Just last one for me. Let's move on to your new team here, Edmonton. With obviously Trey Ford was a big question mark for the last couple different off seasons, wondering where he stood. He seems like he's got that vote of confidence, obviously now in Edmonton. The one thing, if the knock, if you will, against him, I think some of the people who were reluctant to put him in that number one job was because he was new to this game, because he was still learning how to command a huddle, right? Like he wasn't breaking huddles with gusto and coaching his receivers like you see a lot of veteran pivots. And I'm wondering how much of that needs to be taught, how much of that can be taught, if that's something that you're aware of with Trey and his evolution as a quarterback, and how much confidence you have in him being your number one guy this year.
Well, I'm 100% confident in him being the number one guy. I mean, I wasn't there for those years. I think every player that comes into the league has to grow. I mean, quarterback is the most important position on the field, but every position, every rookie that comes into the CFL or into professional sports has to develop and has to continue to develop. And there are things that he can still work on and is going to work on. And that's why, I'm so excited for him to work with Jordan Maximic, our offensive coordinator, who has developed multiple different style of elite quarterbacks. So, does he have things that he needs to work on? For sure, but we all do. And I think, part of that is growing and maturing as a player, but also as a man. He was young. He's 20 something years old when he comes out. I think back to the relationships that I've had over the years. You see these players coming out, and they're literally young and wild and young men, and then you see them grow, and you nurture that growth, and you kind of push them in a certain direction, and then they become men, and then they become family men, and then sometimes they have kids and all these things, and they get married, and they go through these real life situations. But that's part of the growth that we're going to try to nurture. We're going to support him, and we're going to get behind him as our guy, and I know the city is as well.
Right on. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have 4 questions lined up. Those are going to be the last 4 questions for Mark. So next question is from John Hodge. Please go ahead, John.
Hey, Mark. John Hodge, 3 Down Nation. I had no idea that football coaches swore, so I learned that. Just one for me. When you signed in Edmonton, can you share like how many years are on your contract as head coach there?
I signed a 3-year contract.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Well, that was a quick one. Next question is from Morley Scott. Please go ahead, Morley.
All right, thanks for doing this. Is it tough to wait out the situation with Jake Julian? I mean, an all-star, record-setting punter last year. He's had obviously lots of NFL looks and tryouts. Is it tough to wait that out? And would you entertain thoughts of having Boris Beatty do both jobs, which he's done successfully before?
Yeah, I mean, to answer the first part of your question, I mean, we have to wait it out. We're going to support him. He wants to play in the NFL. I mean, he had a look when he first came out, and now obviously he's had 6 workouts or whatever it is. I mean, he's getting a pretty thorough look. The challenge is the NFL doesn't really develop specialists, so you've got to kind of come in and take the job. So they're not going to keep guys around to develop them. It just doesn't really happen that way. So we're patient with it. Do we have a plan? Of course we have a plan. We spoke about it last night. They're every year now with the global initiative, there's very good punters coming into the CFL. I think if you look at the quality and the level of specialists over the last 10 years, maybe has dramatically improved in the CFL, more than any other position. And, Jake is a good player. We like his national status. He obviously had the year that he had. He's also the holder on field goals. So, there's a lot of important things that he does, but we're going to wait out the process and support him. And if he gets an opportunity, we're going to celebrate it. And if he comes back, we're going to put our arms around him and go to work. You know, to answer your question on Boris is very talented. I think Boris probably has the biggest leg in the CFL. I know he has the biggest leg in the CFL, playing against him for all these years. You know, he's a guy that could do both. We also have signed a couple other kickers as well coming to camp. So, I mean, you know, we're just going to have to let that situation play out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Morley. Next question is from JC Abbott. Please go ahead, JC.
Hey, Mark. Good
How are
to
you,
hear from
JC?
you. When it comes to coming into a new organization, Ed touched on this a few weeks ago, but the Elks did not do so well on the CFLPA report card. What do you do as a new head coach to address some of those issues that the players had in the past?
I'm glad they didn't do well, because the only way to go up is, or the only direction we can go is up. So, you know, I wasn't there for that. I don't know on a day-to-day basis what was happening in that building. I've heard from players. You know, one of the things I did immediately, JC, when I got hired was started talking to players and finding out what the travel was like, how they liked it, what would they prefer, what did you guys do for meals, how did that work? You know, what did you guys do the year before that? Was that any different? You know, and really, the program in Edmonton is in transition. You know, every department, video, training staff, strength and conditioning, obviously coaching. There's been some changes in the admin side there. So really, the program is in transition. And, you know, I spoke a little bit earlier about vertical alignment from ownership to president to general manager to head coach. When we see things the same way, we can get things done. And that's what's happening right now. And is it a process? 100%. But our fingerprints are going to be all over all facets of that program. It's not just the on-field product that we're talking about, all those other things that go into it. And it's a challenge, and we're excited about it. But Ed and I spoke about it last night that, you know, the process of us transitioning to this program to where we want it to be is going to take some time. But that's what's exciting about it. You know, it's exciting to walk into the building every day and attack a different part of it, but try to get it to meet our vision of what a winning program and what winning football looks like on a day-to-day basis.
This may be early to ask this question, but the worst of those grades was the F that the Elks got for training camp last year. How is a Mark Kilam training camp going to be different than one under Chris Jones?
Well, I mean, again, I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what they did, but you know, one of the strengths I feel like I've had throughout my coaching career is I can feel what the guys need and what they don't. If we need to back off, I can feel that. If we need to push a little bit, I can feel that. You know, I'm not going to try to run them into the ground. I don't believe in that. I mean, I believe, do you have to practice at tempo and practice with purpose to try to get something out of what you're doing? 100%. You've got to maximize the time that you have on field, but there's more ways to go about that. Can we add more walkthroughs? Can we add different sessions to get them off their feet? How are we structuring the day to maximize recovery? You know, and those are conversations that I'm going to have with the training staff, with the strength and conditioning staff, with our player leadership group. But the most important thing to me is that, you know, we have legs to play in the game, because that's where we need to evaluate the players the most. That's the highest importance as far as our evaluation process goes. So I'll make sure that I keep a pulse on how we're feeling and if we need to adjust from there.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, JC. Last questions from Todd Seloff. Please go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Coach. Just curious. There's been a lot of criticism come down from about division in the room in Calgary and all that stuff in the past couple of years. What's your take on that whole situation now that you're removed from it?
My take is that I'm repping the double E, and that's my sole focus, Todd. I don't have a comment on it. You know, everybody that was there was working hard when they were there, but I'm focused forward on the challenge in front of me, and that's all I care about.
Thanks, Coach. That's all I want to know. Thanks.
Thank you.